Welcome back to Beyond Dafeet. My name's Josh. In today's video we're checking out the Hoka One One Mach 4, a really nice lightweight daily trainer slash tempo shoe that you should pick up. Let's get into it. So the Mach 4, it is a very nice shoe to run in by Hoka. Shout out to Hoka for sending this guy out. We really do appreciate it. The shoe underfoot is nice and soft but very responsive. I'd go ahead and say it is probably the softest tempo shoe I've put on my foot that actually works properly. The shoe itself feels nice and cushioned under the foot, but it is very, very snappy at the same time. It's quite responsive. Very flexible in that forefoot, but it does bounce back nicely. Still has that little bit of a rocker in it, so you get onto that next step really nicely. And they've flared out that heel zone a little bit, similar to the Carbon X version 2 that you've hopefully already seen. If not, here's a little link to the video. They flared out that little bit at the back there just to make it a smoother transition from your heel to forefoot. If you do happen to heel strike on the shoe, just kind of get your shoe underneath your body a little bit more and get you onto that next step really well. Overall, I like the heel counter in this shoe as well as the padded heel collar. The shoe feels nice and kind of locked in around that heel zone, and with that gusseted tongue wrapping around the foot, it locks in the foot really well. You got 240 grams in this guy in a men's size 9, so it is very lightweight for what it is underneath the foot. For a tempo shoe, in comparison to like a Rincon or a Kinvara, I think this competes really nicely, but it does feel a little bit softer underneath the foot. Now, it's not gonna outlast, say, like a Clifton or anything like that, because it doesn't have any rubber underneath the foot. It just has a rubber infused EVA, so it's that slightly firmer EVA kind of on the outside of the shoe, and then you got that Pro Fly running through the shoe itself. So this is a very, very similar makeup to the Carbon X version 2. If you put them side by side, they pretty much look very similar, and that's because they pretty much are. You got a little bit less stack height in the Mach, a little bit more in the Carbon X, just because it has a bit more in the shoe, and you also add that carbon plate in this guy. So I think going up against each other, they're very nice. If you wanted to get both in your rotation, something definitely to look at. I'll do a comparison video on these guys later on. But with your Mach version 4, without that carbon plate, it is still nice and snappy. Overall, in terms of the fit, I think it fits pretty true to size. It definitely has a fair bit of depth in the shoe, so if you're someone with maybe a lower arch, possibly don't run in this guy. But if you have kind of medium to high arch and a medium to high instep, it should fit your foot really well. Now, the lacing on it is very stretchy. If anything, you almost have too much lace. Like, there's quite a lot there, and that's not even with the shoe done up. So that's probably the one thing I'd say negative about the Mach, is that there's just probably too much lacing, but that's an easy fix. You just change the laces. In terms of the tongue, it does wrap around the foot really well, and you got this kind of half gusset that they got going on, so it's enough to lock in the midfoot and have the tongue not slide anywhere, but it's not too intrusive. It doesn't kind of go all the way down to the side of your toes and irritate the foot anywhere. It's just a nice and breathable engineered mesh on the upper, so it wraps around the foot really well without kind of feeling like it's pressing on the toes or anything like that. Again, a standard width, so if you have a wide foot, probably wouldn't recommend it, but for that runner who wants to pick up a shoe for that 5K run, or even push it out to kind of that half marathon, I think this shoe would do it quite nicely. And if you're someone who wants a race day shoe or even a marathon shoe slash training shoe, and you're someone who's against carbon plates, I think that's where Hoka have hit the nail on the head with this guy as well. I'd probably say it's one of the fastest shoes without a carbon plate on the market right now, or at least going into early stages of 2021. Without a carbon plate, the Mach is still very soft but very responsive, and you get that nice explosive feel under the foot without a carbon plate, without a nylon plate, just as a stock standard racing flat, I guess, without it being a racing flat, so to speak. So yeah, it's very lightweight, very fast, very cushioned under the foot. I think in terms of durability, it might be the one downfall with it. I think you'd be pushing 500 Ks in this guy. But yeah, let me know if any of you guys have a pair of these and you get past that point. Whack it in the comments, or even flick us a photo of the shoes once you get them in your hands. I probably personally won't be able to get 500 Ks out in this shoe, just because I'll probably break myself before I do that. But yeah, I think for someone who wants to pick up that shoe in a rotation, say with a Clifton, and then you put this guy on the foot for that faster day, it would work ideal for you. Or if you're gonna have the Carbon X in a rotation, so say you're training up for a marathon and you want to use the Carbon X for your long runs, and then the Mach for your faster runs, and then the Carbon X for your race day itself, I think that'd be a great option as well. So if you got any other ideas or thoughts on this shoe, hit us up in the comments below, or feel free to ask any questions if you feel like I didn't cover anything. But yeah, I hope that gives you a good look at the new Mach coming out. Be sure to get your hands on it if you want that nice lightweight but cushioned snappy tempo shoe slash daily trainer. Subscribe.